Every day we see more tents under bridges, more families living out of cars. And while the problems seem insurmountable, the solutions are simpler than you think. We share the real stories and the real solutions of homelessness, what works, what doesn't, and how communities like ours can do better. I'm Baron King, and this is Give Me Shelter. Well, hello, and welcome back to Give Me Shelter. So glad you tuned in. We've been using this podcast to talk about the various causes and factors that have caused our nation's homeless crisis. And today we're going to use a slightly different lens to try and help understand the different factors and forces that have led us to this place where we are, with so many Americans experiencing homelessness on a daily basis. And before I go any further, we'd love to hear from you. If you listen to this, if you have questions, comments, if you have suggestions for topics, please reach out to us at info@chatfoundation.org. We would love to hear from you. So just to recap on some topics that we've already covered, when we talk about homelessness, it's always more than one reason that people experience homelessness. Surely the biggest challenges are systemic. And what I mean by that is the nationwide shortage of affordable housing and the increasing gap between wage growth and property value growth is the number one culprit in this problem. But I will tell you, it's rare when we have somebody that comes to us for help and there's only one factor involved, or that the only factor, I should say, is that there isn't any affordable housing. There's usually other components that go into somebody being homeless. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about some factors that go into that, just so everybody has a well-rounded view and understands the problem at a more accurate level. My goal with this whole podcast is to get everybody on the same page as to what are the causes of homelessness and what are some of the progressive solutions that we can look at to turn the tide. And you may have heard me say this before. To every complex problem, there's a simple answer, and it's always wrong. And what I mean by that is problems are often multifactorial. And so if you're the type of person that likes to just figure out one reason why something's broken, this subject of homelessness probably isn't going to be comfortable for you. But what I'm going to ask everybody to do is just open up their mind, give it some thought, compare their situation to people that might be struggling without some of the safety nets and some of the resources that they have. And you may come away with this understanding at a deeper level why this is such an important topic today in our nation. So when I use the word capital, where does your mind go? What do you think of? Money, assets? You're right. That is a very frequently understood way to understand capital. But we're going to break it down into different compartments today. And so in the early 21st century, there was a French sociologist named Pierre Bourdieu, and he came up with this idea that there's more ways to look at capital than just financial capital. And he broke it down into 4 different types of capital. There's economic capital, and we'll go into each of these individually in a moment. There's cultural capital, there's social capital, and there's symbolic capital. And all of these go into determining the safety or security of our human well-being, okay? And so if you have a lot of these different forms of capital, chances are you're fairly safe and secure in life. If you are lacking in any of these areas, well, that's going to present some vulnerabilities to you. And so we'll break this down a little bit. So Bourdieu said that he argued that capital is not exclusively economic, but it also encompasses other resources that help individuals either gain power or status in society. So economic capital is material wealth, such as money and property rights. Cultural capital is non-financial assets, such as your education, your skills, your abilities. Social capital is the value that an individual gains from their social status, or their social network, I should say. And then symbolic capital tends to refer to such things as prestige and honor. And so we're going to discuss these one by one, take a look at how they kind of intersect with our lives. And then I also want to break down what we see when we're working with individuals that are experiencing homelessness. Please stick around for the end because I do always like to bring a case study with us. I think it's really, really important not just to talk theoretically about these things, but for me to be able to present real life situations, some good, some not so good, just so we have basically a little bit of a reality check on some of these concepts. So let's talk about the first one, economic capital. That's the easiest to understand. What is it? It's my assets. It's my money in my bank. It's the equity in my home. It could be my investment accounts. It could be a savings account. Anything that allows you to have purchasing power is really important. Well, and that's obvious, right? Because most of us have a rent payment, a mortgage payment, other bills that we have to take care of. And so when we look at somebody's financial health, we're assuming that their economic capital exceeds what their financial obligations are, right? And so we want to have a rent or mortgage payment that's less than 30% of our monthly income. We want to be able to take some money and be able to put it away into savings for a rainy day. So income and financial assets are definitely a significant part of security in our society, in any society, really. The next is cultural capital, and cultural capital relates to the things, my assets that are non-financial, and so perhaps that's my education. Perhaps that is, maybe I'm bilingual, and that allows me to have maybe greater employment opportunities. I could work abroad or be able to work in fields that might require more than one language. It could be skills that I have. Maybe it's computer skills. Maybe it's construction skills. All of those present non-financial assets, right? So if I lose a job, but I have certain skills, it is more likely going to allow me to get back into the workforce. The next is social capital. So social capital relates to our network, our social network. It can be our family, it can be our friends, it can be our business colleagues. But generally speaking, the broader or wider that social network is, that social capital is, the deeper, the higher quality. If I have friends that are financially or successful, if I'm in a time of need, I might be able to reach out to them for help. If my friends really are struggling on the lower socioeconomic rungs of society, they're probably not going to be able to help me as much. And so this idea of social capital becomes really important. We're going to unpack that about how we see that playing out in homelessness in just a minute. And then symbolic capital, and this one's kind of the hardest of the four to understand. Symbolic capital has to do with prestige and honor, societal rank. And I would put it this way: if I was a famous A-list celebrity and I needed help, it would probably be easier for me to get assistance or at least get somebody to listen to me if I was a little famous, if I had some type of rank or prestige. And so that one's probably the hardest of the four to wrap your mind around. But there you have it: economic, cultural, social, and symbolic capital. So we're going to talk about each of these one by one as far as how we see that playing out in society. Okay, so when we're talking about economic capital and how it relates to homelessness, I'm guessing that most of the listeners on this podcast slept inside. They were housed last night, that you have your home, you have your apartment, that you have an income stream that allows you to pay for that. That's really, really, really important. Like I said at the beginning, when somebody comes to us for assistance, it is very rare that lack of affordable housing is the only issue. And so let me demonstrate it this way. When somebody, let's say they're evicted because they fell behind on their rent payments, they become homeless, They are desperate to get rehoused. They come to us for help. One of the things that we look at is, what is your income stream like? Do you work? Are you able to work? Are you employed? Are you underemployed? Do you Are you unable to work because of disabilities? We'll have you applied for SSDI, or are you involved in any other safety net programs that could provide an income stream? This has become really, really important in 2025, 2026, because in Chattanooga, like a lot of other areas of the country, there has been a freeze or a reduction in housing assistance vouchers. And so these vouchers are something that allows somebody to be able to pay the landlord for their rent, but it comes to them through federal and state assistance programs. And so these vouchers are frozen. So a year ago, 2 years ago, when someone would come to us for assistance and we realized that they probably needed some housing subsidies, the first thing we would do is get them to register into the by name list and get on a waiting list for a voucher with the housing authority. Now that that's no longer the case, what we're doing is we're working a lot harder to try and help individuals develop their own income stream that will allow them to pay for their monthly bills, which includes rent on an apartment or a house or something of so forth. We do that through a number of different ways. We started a workforce development program where we work directly with employers and individuals to try and get them paired up. We look to build relationships with companies in our area that pay high wages. Volkswagen has a large electric plant in our general vicinity, and they have second shift jobs that are starting between $22 and $24 an hour. There's a steel plant that pays high wages. And so sometimes it's a matter of trying to help somebody not just get a job, but maybe they're employed. We're going to see if we can get them a better job, one with higher paying wages, ones with benefits. Why do they need help? A lot of times people have had a lot of doors closed in their faces. Maybe they are not that skilled in searching for jobs, writing resumes, interviewing effectively. So those are some of the things that we try and do to increase the amount of financial capital or economic capital that that individual has. The second is the cultural capital. And remember, that's the non-financial assets. So the skills, the abilities, the training that people may have had. We have some people that come to us that didn't finish high school or didn't have a GED. We have some people that have graduate degrees that are also experiencing homelessness. And so while we were working to learn their situation and try and get them to a place where they're more secure, one of the things that we look at is that education or vocational training component. Is there a field that they could get into, but maybe just need a little assistance? Maybe it's just to finish that GED. Maybe it is going to trade school or vocational school. Chattanooga is fortunate. We have a school in the area that teaches construction trades. So you can learn in a fairly short period of time how to do carpentry, how to do plumbing, electrical, things of that nature. And we've worked out a partnership with this school that they will subsidize, or they will basically give free tuition to people that we're working with. And so if you think about it, people working in the trades make a pretty darn good wage. And so that's a great way to try and get people moving a little farther along and being able to do more. So we're trying to improve their skill set, improve their training. That'll open up more doors, and that'll make that economic capital flow a little easier. So on to the social capital. So when somebody is experiencing homelessness, sometimes they have the ability to reach out to friends or family and say, hey, I'm in a terrible place. Do you have a room I could stay in? Can I sleep on your couch? And that happens a lot. A lot of the people that are technically homeless are couch surfing. And while that's much better than being unsheltered, there's not a sense of long-term security in staying on somebody's couch. Eventually, somebody wants their couch back. One of the first questions we ask when somebody's experiencing homelessness is, tell us about your family. Because sometimes the quickest, easiest, and most cost-effective way to end somebody's homelessness is to reach out to a family member and call them and say, hey, listen, John, your brother is having a really tough time right now. Would you be able to take him in until he gets back on his feet? That technique is called redirection, and agencies like ours do this all the time. Why don't people call for help on their own? Well, a number of reasons. Perhaps there was a falling out in the family, and this individual doesn't believe that the fences can be mended, or really isn't willing to take that step to say, I'm sorry, or can you give me help? Another reason is homelessness causes individuals to experience a significant amount of shame. A lot of us feel like we shouldn't be homeless, or wouldn't know what to do if we're homeless. And so by being in a place where we're down on our luck and really struggling to survive, maybe picking up the phone and calling a family member just isn't going to happen. I know that if my house burned down today, I would be picking up the phone and calling friends, calling family, calling colleagues and saying, hey, while my house is being evaluated and maybe rebuilt, can you take me in? Not everybody has that luxury. And so, again, the strength or weakness of these areas of capital really do come into play with people's safety and security. So the last one, symbolic capital, is kind of hard to apply to this because, quite honestly, we don't find that we work with a lot of people that have significant levels of prestige. Most of us don't have that. Most of us are not celebrities. Most of us are just normal people that go to work and do normal people things all the time. But you can imagine if I was a well-known celebrity, if I was a well-known politician, if I was well-known in the business community, that would tend to open up second and third doors for me that maybe other people wouldn't have. Unfortunately, in our work with people experiencing homelessness, I have yet to figure out a way to work through that lens of symbolic capital to improve a person's situation. It's just not something we have the tools to make that happen. When we experience somebody that is homeless, it's very likely that it's a result of all four of these forms of capital collapsing or failing. Let's let that sink in. Homelessness can be defined as a complete collapse of all four types of these methods of capital. If I still have one or two of these intact, I'm probably going to be okay. If I don't, if I have serious deficiencies in any of these four or all of these four, it's going to make it very difficult for me to obtain a safe and secure place to stay. Okay, now we've probably talked enough about all these, but as you can see, these are four components. If they're strong, if they're reinforced, people are in good shape. If they're lacking or broken, then people need assistance. And our goal is to kind of fill in those gaps, try and assist in building up the capital. So I have a case study here that I'd like to read for you. Our case management team works directly with hundreds of people on a regular basis, not just to get them housed, but to make sure that they're thriving once they're housed. And here's a case study that I want to share with you. We have an individual who experienced chronic homelessness for close to a decade. All forms of capital were absent from this person's life. Once the person made the decision to move forward, she began to develop social, symbolic, and cultural capital. Economic capital remains the most difficult for this person to obtain, although she is able to meet her basic needs as a result of some public assistance programs and employment. Soon after being sheltered, she connected with a church in Chattanooga. She began attending services and started working for them. These connections she made began to enhance her social capital. Now she has a group of friends who are connected within the community who provide support and encouragement. Through her work connections over the past few years, she gained some symbolic capital within the Chattanooga community by sharing her story for fundraising events and the local news. This exposure also provided an opportunity for her to become a board member with a nonprofit organization, thereby expanding her social capital. I think you can see how these are all kind of interrelated. That's kind of cool. Today, she has another job with a nonprofit organization and is back in college. She continues to increase cultural capital through education, knowledge, and skill development. And each opportunity that she embraces contributes to her self-sufficiency and reduces the likelihood of her falling into homelessness again. So, what does this mean to the average person? What I would say is a lot of times we look at homelessness, it seems too big, too broad a problem to fix. We don't know how to address it. And it's not that complex as far as addressing the challenges, getting to know somebody, getting to know where they need assistance. If you know somebody that's homeless, you might be able to reinforce some of these things that we just talked about. If you want to volunteer for an organization, you can do that directly. Every town has some organization that is on the front lines of homelessness, whether it's a soup kitchen, whether it's a homeless shelter, whether it's a community center. But finding ways, maybe you speak a second language and you want to start giving language classes. Maybe you're pretty good with numbers and want to help people learn more about financial literacy. It's surprising. We started a program at Chat Foundation to begin teaching financial literacy at a higher level. We've had outside groups come in and they do it and they do a good job with it. But what we found is a surprisingly high number of people never really learned about money in a healthy way. Maybe money was a struggle at home where they grew up and so they didn't know how to manage it. A lot of schools don't really teach personal finance anymore. Maybe it's giving somebody an employment opportunity where they didn't have one. Like I said, there's lots of ways we can get involved. And what I would say is we're past the point at which we can hope the federal or state government is going to fix homelessness. And it's too big a burden for the limited number of nonprofit organizations to do alone. We have to do this as a community. It's going to take government investment. It's going to take nonprofits finding new ways to fill gaps in services. And it's going to take individuals volunteering or donating resources to make this whole thing work. But don't think that this can't be solved. For every person that we work with, I feel confident in that once we get them to a place of safety and security and housing, we've improved their capital. Not all in the same areas because everybody's a different story. I hope you've enjoyed this. Love to hear your comments, your questions. Remember, that's info@chatfoundation.org, CHATT foundation.org. Love to hear your comments, questions, and if you have a topic you'd like to talk about or you'd like us to talk about, please do so. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to Give Me Shelter. If you made it this far in the episode, I invite you to share it with at least one person today, because change happens one conversation at a time. I'm Baron King. We'll see you next time.